Hello, everyone. My name is Katie of the Greenland Quilter channel. Welcome to my channel. I have a guest with me tonight. Her name is Ginger, and I will introduce her in just a second. I just wanted to mention a couple of things. You guys keep everybody in Florida and Georgia and Tennessee in your thoughts tonight. I have children in Florida and in Georgia that are in the line of fire with Hurricane Helene. And I have friends in both states, quilters in both states. So you guys keep everybody in your thoughts. Right now, she's a category 2, but she might increase to a cat 3 in a couple of hours. And if that happens, the storm surge is going to be pretty tough on everybody on the West Coast as she comes ashore. And she's supposed to come ashore around 8 o'clock tonight, I think, unless she slows down for some reason. So keep everybody in your thoughts on this. My daughter who lives in Lake City, she's in Columbia County in Florida, and they are definitely in the red zone. And Thomas, because he's on the outskirts of the west side of Atlanta, he is also, Atlanta's supposed to get when the hurricane gets up to Georgia, she'll be a category 1 when she gets to Atlanta, so she will be dumping up to 20 inches of rain. So y'all just send good thoughts their way, and whatever else you want to do, and stay, keep up to date to see what's going on. Heather said she just got upgraded to a cat 3. So did Andrea. So y'all keep everybody in your thoughts, because this is something, I always say that Floridians are made of tough stuff, and generally we are, but when flooding comes into play, that is a different kind of animal. Wind, most of us are used to when cold fronts come through and when you get violent thunderstorms and winds, we all are, used to that. But when you get tons and tons of rain, especially in states that's already oversaturated, that becomes a problem. So everybody send positive thoughts towards everyone. Okay, so go ahead. I'm going to switch it to Ginger, and then after she talks about things, I'll tell you what I plan on working on. And then I want to do a little housekeeping because we have to have a little chat about something. Okay, go ahead, Ginger.
Okay. Yeah, my daughter's in Louisiana and my mother's outside Houston, and they get hit just all the time. And I hate to watch the news. It's like I just kind of wait until they call me and say they're okay instead of worrying too much. But yeah, I'm Ginger. My channel's the Copycat Quilter, and I just like making quilts of all kinds. I have a lot of fun on my channel. I show every mistake I make, and I make a lot of them. I call it Copycat Quilter because I like to look at other quilts and sort of copy them. I never copy them directly because I can't stay focused that long to make it the way they have it. But I just enjoy making quilts that I enjoy and playing around and experimenting and that kind of a thing. So that's what my channel is about. I haven't been the most active lately. I've had a busy summer, but I have a lot of stuff in the works. I have several quilts that I've made videos of, like the construction, but I just need to get the rest of it put together and everything. And today I was telling Katie that I sat down to get ready and realized my machine quit on me the other day. It jammed up. It's going to have to go to the spa for a spa day. But I have my heavy duty Singer Featherweight. They call it the light one, and I guess it's lighter than other machines, but it still weighs about like 18 pounds. And I haven't used it in a while, so I'm going to sit here and clean it and oil it and get it all ready. And then I'm going to work on this candy bar because I'm in the mood for a candy bar today. And then I have some bags and things that I've been working on that if I get everything cleaned up and stuff, I'll finish up some of those.
Maybe when you start cleaning on it, you can turn the camera down on it. Then I can spotlight you and let everybody watch what you're doing, and then it'll be fun for them to see what you're doing.
That's okay. Good.
So yeah, I'm going to spotlight her here directly. Okay, here's my plan of attack tonight. As most of you know, I'm testing Andrea's modern tumbling blocks pattern. I have got sections 6 and 7 completed, but they're not sewn together yet. So tonight I will sew them together, but I want to talk a little bit about, before I sew them together, I want to show you both of them. And then I want to show you a section that I'm having difficulties on whether I want to leave it alone or not. I had already changed the color once, and I am still dissatisfied with this one area. So I'm going to let y'all have a look at it and see what your thoughts are. Because when I took a picture of it, you can't hardly differentiate between the part that's actually dark and it's supposed to be a medium dark, but the camera's seeing it as it's almost as dark as the section it's supposed to be dark. And when I did it in a black and white, it was the same problem. There's almost no difference between the two. So I'm thinking maybe I shouldn't sew these two sections together and rip out that section and change the color. So here's what the quilt pattern looks like that I'm working on.
Oh, nice.
So as I said, I've got all the way up to section 7 done, so that leaves 3 more sections to go. So the section I'm having trouble with is up here. So I will show that to you in a minute. Okay. We will do that first, and then I have 2 mail calls to show you guys. And then after that, I thought I would talk about, hopefully this will not be boring to most. I'm sure that a lot of you are wondering how I come about using these batik colors, because I'm not exactly following the color palette on the pattern. I mean, I like, I may do some hue or colors close to this, but then I got down here and I started switching colors because I just wanted to do something different. But I want to talk about how I use color, why I use the color the way I do, and why I never follow other people's color palettes. I think that would be something interesting that some people wouldn't mind, me talking about, because I really don't spend a lot of time talking about it. It's like my mandala behind me. That mandala has 32 colors in it. And I didn't like sit out and audition all the colors that I put in that mandala. I just did it based on how I felt that day. And I think I have figured out why I do that. And it has to do with something that me and my daughter have inside of us. And we'll talk a little bit about my daughter, the painter, because she has a gift of painting with oils and pastels. And the way she uses color can't be taught. It comes from inside. And I think that's what's happening with me. I have found a way to use color that comes from here instead of from someone's color palette or from the rules of how you use color. Because there is rules about color, but sometimes I don't even look at the color wheel. I just go by how I see it visually and how it either I'm comfortable with it or I'm not comfortable with it. So we're going to talk a little bit about that too. Okay, let me say hello to everybody in the channel real quick. Okay, hello, Michelle. Welcome. Hey, Andrea. Hi, Lori. Hello, Michelle. Hey, Kathy. Hey, Glinda. So welcome, everybody. Okay, so let me show you section 6 and section 7, and then we're going to talk about section 6.
While you're doing that, I'm going to start taking apart.
Okay, all right. So this is section 6. Can you see the spot I'm talking about on this section?
In the middle, right?
Yeah, the middle and to the left
dark
of it.
blue.
Yes, you can't hardly see the differentiate. You
Right.
can't really see the color change there. And to me,
Right.
I find it problematic because you're supposed to use a dark on one side and a light on the other. Well, no, let me try that again. So this is the main color here. And you put the light on this side, and then you want a medium dark on this side, which will then go into the next one that happens to be dark also. So I need to find a color that is still a little darker, still not as dark as this side, but darker than the purple, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's got that 3D look. And if you don't get the darks and lights just right, you
Yep.
lose the 3D look. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I'm thinking I'm going to rip this back out again. Maybe I'll change the color completely. Maybe I'll go with a green or a deep red or something like that, where it's still be medium dark for this side, but it'll still be dark enough for the purple side.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I'm going to do, is go through my stash and see if I can't find it, because this is just, it's bothering me.
Yeah, I hate to tear stuff out, but I would do that on that one because you're going to completely lose the 3D effect if it's
Exactly.
not just the right mix. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I saw it in the picture, I'm like, this is not, and I was looking at it, I'm like, damn, this still don't work for me. And this is twice I've changed that spot out. I just wasn't happy with you just couldn't see that 3D starting because the color's wrong for this part of the quilt anyway. Okay, now here's section 7. Now section 7 is great.
Yeah, that's nice.
So all of this works. So it's just that section 6 is giving me grief. And I will show you with my cell phone the rest of the quilt that way, because in case some of you haven't seen it. So let me take the power cord off this camera. Hopefully I won't disconnect myself. Okay. Uh-oh. What do I do?
You're in selfie mode.
Okay, here's the rest of it.
Oh, that's pretty.
Thank you. So you can see up here,
Yeah.
you go dark, light, but this light is not light.
Right.
Then you have light here, darker here, lighter here, light here, semi-dark in between these two colors here. Then you get down here, and this is actually like a mustard yellow, but it looks dark to me. Then you have the darker, and then you have the semi-lighter, but it's not as light as these. So I think that once I hit this row, and then I try to do the 6th row, that's where it made it look off.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I need to fix. And this is fine the way it is. I'm happy with this, because when I took a picture of it, you could still see this 3D effect going on right here. So it's okay. And also, I don't know if you noticed this, but over here you have whole half blocks on this side. And then over here, you only have quarter blocks over here on this side where they switch colors. So it's pretty interesting how Andrea designed all of this color to work with each other to get that 3-dimensional look that's happening with this. Okay, so now we're going to switch back the other way.
That's worth ripping out again and making sure it's right. You don't want to lose the 3D effect.
No, I don't. And I know it's just going to bug me, so might as well do something about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm the last one to ever want to tear something out, but I would do
the live ripping it out instead of sewing it. And I'm okay with that. I mean, this is part of when you're a quilt maker, you may not always like, when you're making a quilt, whether you're following someone else's color palette or you're making your own color palette. And as a quilt maker artist, there are times when you're not going to like something about it. And it's okay to go back. And yes, this is a lot of work to rip out. But I have a method of ripping this out where I don't have to rip all of it apart. So what I'll do is this purple right here, I'll start ripping the seam just about 1 inch to the left of that first seam, and I'll go all the way down and do that. And then I'll take all of this and I'll rip all the rows out this side of it on all 4 rows. And then I'll disengage this color from the purple over here. And then I'll have this half will still be sewn and not torn apart. So it'll only be this side that I have ripped apart. That way I don't have to go back and re-sew all of this. And it will realign itself pretty much easily as long as I'm not pulling on it as I'm ripping the seam.
So that's all sewn in strips, or the strips, I mean, it's her
Yeah,
pattern, and obviously
yeah,
you're not like to
yeah,
scrap,
that's
but
strip.
are the strips
Yeah,
kind of the same length and then you line them up,
they're
or
they're
are
they're
they all
all
different?
they're all strips strip set width, but they're different lengths
Yeah.
based on how they're being sewn in here.
Hmm.
So that's why I will make sure that when I take the seam out on the lengthways of it, I'll come part of the way in on the next part of the purple. That way, when I get ready to sew the rows back on, I have enough space to work with it without having to make a mess of the rest of it. Did that make sense? Or
Yeah.
I can show you guys how I do it. I mean, if that'll help. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and probably rip this out. Let me see if anybody's made a comment. Hi, Joe Carmel Perkins.
Okay, Joe.
Hello, vintage style Joe as well. Welcome. Okay. I want to talk about something that I really don't want to talk about it, but we're going to. There have been some comments made about my voice being loud or too high pitched. And believe it or not, when you get enough of these comments, they, especially if certain kinds of words are used when someone's making this kind of complaint, it causes secondary issues for me. And most of you know why. I don't have to explain that, but it does cause more trauma, if that makes sense. I'm doing the best I can with the technology I have. I'm not sure why I sound louder right now. It could be that I've spent all summer having to speak loud for tourists, and maybe that's filtrating over into my lives. And I'm sorry about that. A lot of times my voice is higher because I'm nervous or I'm anxious. And as most of you know, I've been anxious for a while now since the destruction of my sewing room, along with my son being homeless. There's been a consecutive of a whole lot of things going on, the loss of Coda. I mean, we've had a lot on our plate over the last almost year. And I suffer from anxiety and a couple other things. And sometimes it's hard for me to what do you call it, compartmentalize and shove it aside. It doesn't work that way with people who suffer from anxiety and other types of depression and PTSD and things like that. So I'm sorry if my voice grinds your nerves, but I don't know what else to do about it. I don't use a mic. I can't get my hands on a mic unless I come to the United States. So y'all show me a little grace. I'm not meaning to be a bad speaker. I didn't know that this was going on. And when people make comments, it's how they say it. And when I read it, I take things literally. And so I don't want to stop doing lives just because people can't stand the sound of me. So please forgive me and show me some grace if you don't mind. And now we're going to get on with things.
Well, whenever I get comments like that too, sometimes people will comment and like, oh, I remember seeing somebody talking about fingernail polish. Oh, your fingernail polish is ugly. I'm like, not mine. It was somebody else that was watching
Yeah,
the channel.
somebody else. Yeah.
And it's like, if you don't like what I'm doing, don't watch. It's so easy. And if you sound loud, turn the volume down. I mean, it's really hard for me. I do have a microphone, but I have found that sometimes when you upload a video, like the volume changes. Like I'll think it's a good volume and I upload it and it's really, really soft or it's really loud. And YouTube doesn't give you a lot of ways to adjust that once it's uploaded. So it's like we're here having fun and we're sharing stuff with people. And if they don't appreciate or have issues, I don't feel like you need to apologize. Like they can just go somewhere else. There's plenty of channels to go watch and fit whatever you enjoy doing.
Exactly. I mean, yes, I would love to have fancy technology. Who wouldn't? I mean, y'all are gonna kind of probably smile a little bit. I went online looking for mics that are made for women to soften women's pitches of how they sound. And that's utterly ridiculous for me to even think about doing
Yes,
something like that just because of what people say.
it is. It is.
I mean,
Your voice is your voice. And
I can't. Right now, you probably hear the highness in it.
I don't think he sounds squealy or high. Like I have worked with people that had like little girl squeaky voices, and it's like, you don't, I don't hear that with you at all, but you know, everybody's got their opinion.
Yep. And some people just nitpick because they're unhappy with their lives, I think. I don't know. But either way, it really got to me the other day, and I made a comment that maybe I should just quit YouTube altogether. You know, if people are going to nitpick about little things, what else are they unhappy with that they haven't decided to throw in my face, you know? So, you know. Okay, let me read what the channel said. Michelle says she's doing good. Got off today and tomorrow because of the storms. All right. Michelle says, oh, good grief. Your voice is your voice. It's beautiful. Just ignore the haters. I have a voice that projects, so I am always loud. Do not worry about what others say. We love you as you are. Thank you. Andrea says, you sound perfect to me. There is a volume button if someone needs to turn it down.
Exactly.
Normally,
exactly.
Yeah, and she says she normally has to turn the volume all the way up so she can hear me. I love you too. And Joe Carmel says, you sound great. I've got comments that I don't speak loud enough. Folks need to just adjust the volume. Yes. And then Vintage Joe says, do they knit? Do they not have anything else to do? That's right. And Andrea says, since she's hearing impaired, she cannot tell how loud or soft I speak. I am very sensitive to it, and this is one reason I use AI voices on my video. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Oops.
I know that maybe you can sense anxiety in me on some nights. I can't hide that. I don't take drugs to calm me down, because then it'll look like I'm intoxicated on something. You know what I mean? I would rather have my brain free than held down by medicine that I only use for flying. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I wish you could see my face because I would be going, yay, yay, yay.
Okay.
All are ourselves. We don't have to apologize for being ourselves. You know,
Yeah.
You just don't. When I get comments like that, I'm really working on not saying sorry for things that are not my fault, because it's just automatic. Sorry, you know. And I sometimes, whenever I'm responding to a comment like something like that, I'm just like, you know, thank you for watching. Because like, I'm not going to say, I'm sorry you didn't like it, or I just, you know, thank you for watching. And, or sometimes I'll put, you know, there's many voices on the internet, on YouTube. And, you know, if mine's not yours, then you can find another one. But, you know.
And I think as women, I don't know about men. I can't speak for men, but I know with women, and I know with the way I was raised, you know, girls were supposed to be quiet,
Yep.
be quiet, act very feminine, never voice your opinion about anything or show yourself to other people. You were supposed to, it's hard for me to explain what when you're raised by a patriarchal father,
I was
what it's
there.
like. But it would be, shut up, Kathy. Don't talk, Kathy. I mean, you know, and I think we all have a voice and we should be able to say things.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to spotlight Ginger in just a second so you can see what she's doing. But let me finish reading the rest of what was said in the chat, and then I'll do that. Vintage Joe says, you're fine, you be you. And then Judy says, you be you and don't worry about anyone else. Some people will always complain because they live in a depressing life. Your voice is fine. I can't do a live and would never complain about those that do. Yeah, it's not easy getting in front of a camera and talking to the camera. It's not like when I go out tour guiding. It's usually when we first start the season, the first group I get, I'm a little bit anxious. But within 5 minutes, I forgot about being anxious, because you're talking to a group of 30 people and I have to raise my, put my voice out there so that all 30 people can hear what I say. And when you get it's different. But when you get in front of a camera, you're talking to your camera. We can't see your body language or your faces or anything else. So it's a little more challenging and it can be intimidating. That's a good word for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Harry says, Katie, there's always going to be B. I'm not just. Anyway, she used it B with the semi. I forget what those asterisk. Asterisk. Yeah. Just ignore those rude people. I'm afraid to use a bad word and then get nailed for it with YouTube. But I learned a long time ago, you know, about speaking of words, I had a friend and she taught me, and she's still my friend after all these years. We've known each other since 1998. And she taught me that because a lot of times people would use language that would just grind my nerves. And it was because, I think part of it was because growing up, my father talked like a sailor. And, you know, as a girl and as a young person, you just didn't want to hear that kind of language. But she told me one day, she says, if you learn how not to let those words give you power or have power over you, then you can go through your entire life hearing those words and not even get a response. That does make sense. I mean, you don't want your young children using those words, but when you hear adults use those words, don't give them the power to get you in an uproar over it, you know? Heather says, my father-in-law wanted me to take classes on how to control my voice. I told him my voice is perfectly controlled until he came around. Laugh out loud. I've always had complaints about my voice being high pitched. Yeah, part of the complaint has been about my high pitch. Judy says,
hear that. That is so strange to me because you don't sound squeaky high pitched. Like you're not like, you know.
I mean, sometimes I think I get loud maybe, and that's maybe the pitch changes when I do that. But it's not because I intend on doing that. It's just the way I talk.
Well, and even if you intend to, it's okay. Like you can be loud. It's all right.
Judy says, well, just remember that every time there's a live, I am in pajamas slept out. That's good, Judy. I hope you're going to be okay up there. Judy's one of the people on the outside of Atlanta, like my son is. So y'all keep her in your thoughts because she's one of the Georgians I was mentioning. I just didn't mention her by name, but there's several Georgians up there that are also quilters. So keep them in mind. Kathy says, as a control creator myself, lives isn't easy. I've been doing it for 7 years now, and I still get intimidated. You do you, Katie, and don't listen to all the other people. Yeah, I've only been doing this a year, and I still get twisties in my stomach 30 minutes before a live starts. And I asked Sean, I said, does that ever stop? And he says, no. You just have to learn how to be okay with it. And then Heather says, I am a very loud person. I believe you should be heard. Thank you. But I wanted to touch base with that. So if there was someone in here that was unhappy with how I sounded, I wanted you to know that I can't fix it. I don't have fancy technology to soften the pitch of my voice.
There's nothing to fix. You're you and you're just right.
Okay. All right. I'm going to poke this spotlight Ginger here. And while she's doing this, I'm going to rip seams. And then I'll share my 2 mail calls with you guys. There we go.
I do have, I got this from the Featherweight shop, and it's the cheat sheet of everywhere you're supposed to oil and all the dots and everything. And it even tells you like every time you sew, you should oil this one part. And, you know, I'm kind of a gadget person, so I really enjoy playing around on this anyway. But I really like enjoy treating it nice, you know, just getting to take things apart and grease it and that kind of a thing. So I kind of like to tinker with it anyway, but man, these things are workhorses. You know, this was from 1955 and it'll sew through anything. My project over here is big fat stuff and it'll be fine. It can punch through all of that. So I just try to give it a little love every now and then. And there's like all kinds of spots and holes that you're supposed to do. So I just look at the little chart and it says, put 1 dot here and 1 dot there and follow what it says. My dad was always like a tinkerer. you know, and I don't remember us ever having a repairman at the house except for the air conditioning Freon, because he couldn't do that himself. You know, you have to have like a license and stuff for that. So plumbing, everything else he did. And he kind of taught me to be that way too, I think.
How many spots do you have to oil on there?
There's 30, actually, wait, 26 is the highest number. But it has like the red ones you're supposed to do every 6 months, and the blue ones after every 8 hours. And then one little spot in the bobbin you're supposed to do every time you sew. I don't do that necessarily. It's just this, I haven't used this in a while, and so I thought it could use a little love before I start sewing on it. And I'm mad at my FOF, so.
How long have you had your featherweight?
I just got this like 2 years ago. Bought it off of eBay. And, you know, they got kind of a cult following. And I really do like it. I just go back and forth, I guess. I like my FOF for quilting because that dual feed foot really keeps things in place. You know, you can pull or whatever and it's still going to be straight. But I like this. The light on this is kind of yellow. It's not an LED. So it's kind of pleasant. Like, you know, it's not like so bright. And I love the sound of it. It sounds like the sewing machine my mom had when I was a kid, you know, just the good mechanical sound, and it's kind of quieter than some of the other machines. So it has its pluses. I have trouble with a 1/4 inch on it. But I don't have the 1/4 inch foot. So I should order one of those. And then I think, oh, I should get rid of one of my machines because I have 3 sewing machines. And it's like, I can't think of which one I would want to get rid of. I love them all. They all have their special thing. I have one that does embroidery, and like, you know, it's not my favorite to sew with because I don't feel like it makes the best 1/4 inch seam. But I love it for the embroidery.
What do you say about owning? There's different sizes of embroidery machines, right?
Yeah, mine's like a big sewing machine. It's not like one of the huge multi-needle, and it's not as big as like some of those, was it the Brother Luminaire and some of those gigantic, you know, car-sized sewing machine. It's you can carry it around, but it is bulky, you know. And I haven't embroidered anything in a long time.
Are they easy to use?
Yeah. I mean, the one I have is a Viking, Husqvarna, and I've been really happy with it. I had one before a long time ago, like kind of right after they first came out, for home use, and it jammed up and stuff all the time. And this one's pretty good about, it runs, and, you know, every now and then you screw something up, but not too much.
Okay, more comments in the channel. Judy says, my dogs have food and we're going to be all right. I made sure to talk to Thomas about all of this last night and today. So he's getting prepared as well. Andrea says, I am a woman. Hear me roar, roar. In numbers too big to ignore, I am a woman. That's right. And then Jackie's, hi, Jackie. Jackie says, working on quilting last year's Christmas run from Cotton Cuts, I ended up putting it away last year when Dad was sick. It will be on my table this year as a piece of my dad. He loved the pattern. And Heather says, exactly, Andrea. And then Joe's Carmel says, Ginger, how often do you need to oil it? Let me let you answer that.
Well, it has, like I said, it's got like, you're supposed to put a drop on the bobbin every time you, let's see, get out of the light. Every time you sit down to sew, you should do that little green on the bobbin. And then the red is every 6 months and the blue's every 8 hours. But I just, every now and then I just sit down and do it. I do try to do that oil on the bobbin every time because it really makes a difference. But I mean, it runs good. It's like, I think oiling it regularly is what keeps it working good, you know, and makes it last. But and it's funny because you can kind of hear it. I did a video on it and somebody's like, your machine needs oil, because it starts making kind of a clunky noise whenever it needs oil. And then whenever you oil it, it's just like smooth and it just runs. So it's not like tedious. And I do enjoy taking it apart and doing that. So it's kind of weird, like the modern machines, you know, you're not even supposed to oil them or anything. My FOF doesn't have any spot to oil. I take it apart around the bobbin area as much as I can and like clean out dust, but there's nowhere you're even supposed to put oil on that one.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
There's a little wick up underneath my bobbin case, but when you look in the manual, it never says whether you need to oil it or not.
Yeah, my FOF has the same thing. And I was cleaning it one day and I thought it was like muddy, oily stuff. And I went to pull it and I realized it was a wick and I just kind of stuck it back down in and left it alone. But it doesn't say to oil it.
Yeah, the manual says, do not pull that out or you will ruin your machine. Or you'll have to send it to be fixed, put it that away, which that costs money. Are you done cleaning it?
I have to put oil on the tension thing, and that's it. That's all the well, and the bobbin, and that's it. It doesn't take long. And that was every hole, like 16 of the holes are there every 8 hours. That one spot is every they say basically say every time you sit down to sew, oil that little bobbin part.
I wish I could find one over here, you know, like in Denmark, and buy one just so I could bring it home with me and see if it's better than my little Singer Talent, which I can't stand. That little tiny thing drove me up the wall when I was first learning how to make quilts.
If you would probably love it. I mean, it's just a different feeling. To me, it really is nostalgic. My mom didn't have one of these, but she had one of the green, like in the cabinet that folds down in the cabinet, and it was an old Singer. I remember it had the same thing here for reverse if you're reversing or changing your stitch width. I remember that, and I think that was about all the bells and whistles hers had. Hers did a zigzag. This doesn't do zigzag; it only does straight stitch.
Oh, okay.
But it's nice because it has that little tiny hole. It only has like a single hole, so stuff doesn't get stuck down into it, you know. Even on my FOF, I have a single hole plate that I change to when I'm quilting.
Yeah, that's the problem with the Talent. It has a big hole and it likes to eat half square triangles.
Now, my daughter plays around with sewing, and she had an old one. I think my mom bought it for her at a garage sale. And I went down at Thanksgiving and I was trying to work with her, and it was awful, like the tension and stuff. But then I opened it and she hadn't cleaned it. I don't know that the person before her had ever cleaned it. And I cleaned it out, but she was still having problems with it. And she sent me some pictures not too long ago and asked me, like, what do you do to fix this? And so I sent her a new machine. Like, that's what you do with a machine that, like, the tension has problems. And I got her one of the, it's called Eversewn, Eversewn. They're pretty inexpensive. I mean, they range from like 200 to 400, I think. So that's inexpensive for a decent sewing machine. And
that's the sewing machine that Missouri Star sells, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah. And it's like I did one in a class one time. I used the Shops machine, and I was really impressed. Like, I have a high-end machine, and that one felt as smooth, and it had like needle down and maybe one or two other features, but it was a really nice machine. That's the little plate.
I think I went a little far. No, I didn't. Okay. I'm just trying to see what I'm doing here. All right, now I see it. I'm going to show you in a minute what this looks like when I rip this out, so you'll get an idea of how this works. And then, yeah. Ooh, let's be careful though. Let's don't put a hole in it. Let me read what's being said in the chat again. Andrea says she's almost 70 and she grew up in the burn your bra era. Helen Reddy's song, I Am Woman, was our theme song. And then Judy says, Andrea, I hate bras. Maybe that's why I wear my pajamas unless I have to go out. And then Andrea says, I have to go out to take care of the rabbits, but I do not care what people think. I am all about being comfortable to Judy. And then Kathy says, hello, Pat. And Pat's here now. And yeah, okay, I'm caught up. So I'm almost got this first thing ripped out so I can show it to you.
So Joe and I did a panel challenge last year, Joe Carmel, and we did a panel palooza, and she did a panel quilt and I did a panel quilt. So I have to tell you, Joe, I found a Bigfoot panel that it's a full yard of fabric. It's 36 inches by 45, 44. And it's this big picture of Bigfoot. And it's that same fabric that you had national parks, but it's called like Legends of the National Parks. And I think the word is krypton. My daughter told me, and then I can't remember for sure. Krypton or cryptid. I think it's krypton. They're like mythical monsters like Bigfoot. So it's called Legends of the National Parks, and they have all these like mythical creatures and like all the coordinating fabrics. And my son is really into sci-fi and stuff, and he's 6'2". So I'm going to use that Bigfoot panel and make him a huge Bigfoot quilt. And he also has a little Siamese kitten that he got at New Year's January of this year. And she's a kitten, but she was born to a feral mom, before the rescue got her. That kitten still will not let him touch her. It's been 9 months now. So they have like this competition. So I also found this paper pieced pattern that's later in here somewhere of a Siamese kitten. And I'm actually going to make the Siamese kitten block, and I'm going to put it in that quilt like she's a little monster.
Aww.
I think he'll love it. I'll love making it.
Yep. The cat's here in feral too. And you can't pet them at all.
She's so funny because she lived under his bed for like the first month or two. And she comes out now and like, he'll send me a picture like, look, she's sitting close to me on the couch. But he said that's like only when she's hungry. She'll come like sit on the arm of the couch and look at him.
He's like, I'm sending subliminal messages. Feed me, please, but you're not touching me.
And he's extremely stubborn, so they're perfect for each other. It's like, who's going to break first? Is she going to touch him first? Or is he going to get frustrated and like try to grab her? And then you have to start all over again.
Yep.
And
he needs to find out what her high value food is. And I bet it'd be like salmon.
Yeah, probably something like that.
Raw salmon. That might be the go-to way of getting her to come up to him, because they just can't resist raw fish.
He says they play this game of patty cake where basically she gets close enough that he can stretch his hand out and she may reach her paw and touch him. And that's patty cake. But I'm excited about the panel, and it's huge. So the nice thing about panel quilts, some of them, is they're fast because the majority of the quilt is done,
Yep.
And he's a big boy, so he needs a big quilt. He needs it to be able to like cover his legs.
It must be hard for people who are over 6 foot tall.
We were talking about that on Sean's channel, the guy who sews. And he was saying, we were talking about like whether it's better to be short or tall. And we kind of decided there's room for everybody, because like the tall people can help us short people do stuff. And, short people can bend down and pick up the low stuff. And we can take the airplane seats with no leg room and leave the big leg room to the guys who need it. And they can put our luggage up in the overhead bin for us.
What I find annoying is when you get in a taxi cabin of someone that probably was 6'2", sat in the front seat, and then when they got out of the car, they didn't move the seat forward. And then my 5'6" person crawled in the back seat, and my knees I can't hardly, move my knees because of the seat being too far back.
Yeah. I never have that problem. I never have a leg room problem. I'm right around 5'3".
Yeah. I'm taller than you. And I'm a little claustrophobic on top of it, so.
Okay. We are oiled. One thing that's kind of different on these machines is the needle eye goes side to side. So when you thread it, it's not going front to back. It's going from the inside to the outside. And you're like leaning your head, trying to get in that little hole to see through to put it in the right spot. And I did not oil the one spot I said you're always supposed to oil.
I seem to recall that my mom's sewing machine threaded from the side too. And I'm not sure what year her machine is. I've asked my brother, because my brother has the machine, because, he ended up with everything when she passed away. And I asked him, I said, I'd really love it if you would take a picture of mom's machine and write down what the make and model is, because I burned some hours on that machine making my own clothes, you know, and I would really like, I don't remember what kind of singer it was, but I know I loved sewing on it because I made all of my clothes on it.
Yeah,
And I was,
I look back and my mom made like wedding dresses and stuff for people. Like she sewed for people sometimes, and I learned to sew on that one. And it's like, you know, it didn't do anything, and people still managed to sew clothes on them, and they were good.
yeah, I made lots of dresses, and I actually have some pictures of a couple of the dresses I made. In the dresses, I made some dresses, um, skirts. Usually I didn't make shirts too much. I just go buy them because they were relatively cheap. It was everything else that was expensive.
Yeah.
But she used that machine to make our little dresses that we went to school in when I was in an elementary school. So
Yeah.
I actually have a couple pictures of that too.
Probably all of my school pictures up to about high school, I'm in clothes that she made. I remember the first time we drove, I remember the road it was on where we drove to Kmart and bought some dresses. And that was like the first store-bought dresses I had. And I can remember going and getting them. And it was a little brown plaid dress with with a white collar with a big orange bow. Sounds beautiful, right?
Yep. Hey, Lisa, welcome. Good to see you in here. She's dropping in for a sec to show support. I will catch the replay this week. Let me see here. Let me see. I'm not
One thing
sure.
about these bobbins are tiny. I mean, they feel like they hold like 2 yards of thread, and that's about it. Like you can see it's so small.
They are small.
So I just wind a bunch of them at once so that I don't, because it's going to run out pretty quickly.
I find it interesting that the Juki bobbins are so big. I don't have a Juki, but a lot of quilters do. And when they change their bobbins, I'm like, wow, those bobbins look way bigger than even my Janome bobbin.
Weren't they supposed to be kind of like almost industrial machines?
Well, yeah, they're straight stitch machines. I mean, I know that Janome has a straight stitch machine too, and it's not cheap either. I just don't like the Juki is too loud for my ears. I would be wearing earplugs all the time. That's one thing I like about this Janome when I switched from the Singer talent to this one. The Singer was a bit loud. And then I got this one, and it was like the sound when you're going fast is muted compared to how it would sound on that little talent. Ginger, do you live near Natural Bridge?
I do not, but our kids do and our grandkids. And we went and did that hike and saw it. I love when we go places like that, like, and you take a picture. I love thinking about how many millions of people have taken a picture like at that same spot in front of that. Like we went to Niagara Falls, and it's like there have been probably billions of people that have taken pictures of themselves in front of Niagara Falls somewhere. But that was really a beautiful place.
Niagara Falls on the Canada side is on our bucket list for our next trip to the US. Because we're going to go up to Syracuse and see our friends, and then we're all going to go together and cross the Canadian line just to see it. I just want to know whether it's going to be frozen over in March or not. Because that'll be when we go.
Yeah.
Lori says she lives about an hour from there.
Oh. So when we did the hike, they told us that the I don't know, story or whatever behind it is that when I don't know if it's British troops or just Americans taking over Indian land, were like chasing them, that they came to this big gap, this big hole, and like they prayed to their gods, and suddenly a bridge appeared and they were able to escape. We saw that like in the gift shop or something. That was like the little story behind Natural Bridge. Oh, that's fun.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, what the world is going on here?
Oh.
I am trying to figure out something here real quick.
Okay, this is not screwing it.
So easy to get
Need thread
sometimes.
somewhere. I don't want that thread. I need white thread.
Okay. So you guys are watching me rip seams out for this pattern testing. And so this is keeping it real.
Because we all do it.
Yep. And I'll go ahead and put us all of us can be seen now. It looks like you're done cleaning.
I am done cleaning.
You want to show your bags?
Yeah. So what I'm working on, I did a 6-day bike trip to Vermont, like a guided tour with my best friend 2 weeks ago. And we stayed together in like hotels and inns and stuff. And we both have Apple products like iPad and earpods, and both of us have Apple. And like even with Apple, every other cord is different. So I found this bag for cord. I think it's called a tech organizer, and it has 2 mesh pockets on the front, and then inside, let's see, it has 4 mesh pockets in there too, and then just the big open area, and it has the big pocket on the back, and it's for you to be able to put all your cords in and stuff and keep it in your suitcase and keep everything organized. So I don't make a lot of bags. They're very fiddly. Like I was making 4 at once because I knew if I just made the first one, I would never make 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to send 2 of them to the guides that were our guides on the trip. And then I sent one to my friend and I told her next trip we go on that we can have our cords organized and not have to deal with that. And even leaving in the morning, like we moved from hotels a couple of times, you're running around the room and you're worried you forgot a cord somewhere, and the other thing's not going to plug into the one that you have. So I just thought it was really pretty, but they are very fiddly.
I think they look lovely.
Yeah, I thought it turned out really pretty. Hers had butterflies on it. I've already mailed it to her. And then these 2 are going to be for the guides, kind of a deco modern print. And then this one is mine with polka dots, and inside has a black and white.
Oh, that's really cool.
I'd never sewn with mesh before. That was interesting. It stretches like crazy when you're sewing with it, but it got done, the first one.
Is there a trick for sewing with mesh?
I used a lot of clips and like tried to kind of keep my finger on the top pushing the mesh, because it tended to want to like scoot as you're sewing, like it was pushing it away, and because it stretches it would just keep going. So I did try to keep like fingers on top, kind of pushing it under the presser foot. But too, like the way this is, it goes to the bottom anyway, so if it's stretched down below the bottom where it's supposed to be, I just trimmed it off.
Okay.
It was fun. Something different. Oh, I'll show you the other thing too. I brought it just in case. So for my trip, I made skirts or skirts. They're the ones with like the shorts under them. I first started sewing clothes, but I hardly ever make any now, but they have shorts under them. You can't see really good, but they have shorts and then a little flouncy skirt over it. And I wore these in the evenings when we, went to dinner and stuff. They're not fancy. I wore them with my tennis shoes, but I thought it looked a little cuter than bike shorts. And they're really lightweight and easy to cram. I made 4 of them, and they're easy to like wad up and put in your suitcase because they're out of that slinky kind of knit stuff, so they don't wrinkle or anything. So that was fun, something different. Ooh. Got to use my serger because I do use my serger for binding sometimes, sewing the binding on the first round. But my serger sits there kind of unused a lot for quilting. I have to move that light. It's too much in my eyes.
So what do you use your serger for?
For quilting stuff, I did a video on it. For the binding, you can put fusible thread in the looper, so it's on the bottom, and you can serge your binding on like the first pass. So I serge it onto the back first, and the looper thread is underneath. So then when you fold the binding over and you iron it, it glues down so that your binding is held in place. and then you stitch it, but then it's perfect because you can, line it up exactly. And when you iron it and that thread melts, it holds it in place. So whenever you top stitch it, it's like you can be perfect. But
Oh, that sounds interesting.
it's different. I saw it on a video somewhere, and then I tried it, and I did a video of it. I did a video of it too, but it's the fusible thread and it's underneath. So then whenever you wrap the binding around and when you wrap it around and iron it, I can't talk. When you wrap it around and iron it, then that thread holds it. It fuses, and it holds it good enough and strong enough for you to be able to then stitch so that it's in place.
That's awesome.
It's different. It's like, I'm curious and love to experiment. So I saw that and I'm like, oh, I have surgery. I can try that.
Have you ever used an overlock machine?
Yeah. And I have a Sashiko machine. Have you seen the Sashiko?
Yeah, I have. I wouldn't mind having one.
That's really
cool. Expensive.
It is. It's cool, and it looks like hand quilting, but it is not an inexpensive machine.
So in the tannery, in the sewing room, they have a really enormous sewing room, and all of the jackets, hats, mitts, purses, laptop bags, all the stuff that they make there except for the boots. And they have 5 overlock machines, and they're industrial brother overlocks. And it's interesting watching them sew sealskin together, and they use a stiletto, and while they're sewing the 2 pieces together with the overlock, they're taking the stiletto and making sure all the hair is going in the same direction on the sealskin. It's really cool. And 2 of the women, one of them's been there 28 years and the other one's been there 25 years.
Wow. Are they producing things, or is it more for showing the tourist?
No, they sell the stuff. It's part of the Greenlandic culture.
Okay. No, I wasn't sure if it was like, just a tourist kind of display thing, or they're actually production and making things.
They make a living off of it. Great Greenland has went bankrupt twice because of misinformation. Things like, Greenlanders kill baby seals by hitting them in the head with a club, and oh my gosh, some of the stuff I hear, I'm even shocked by some of the stuff that's said. And so it's pushed the company into bankruptcy twice, and so the Greenlandic government set up a trust fund. And because the tannery is the only tannery in all of Greenland, and it's not just sealskins that they work with sheepskin. Every now and then a polar bear skin comes through there because they had to dispatch a bear because he was inside a human area and he wouldn't leave. And sometimes muskox comes through there along with reindeer, believe it or not. And
muskox, you said?
Yeah, muskox,
Huh.
And they come through there every so often to be tanned as well. And so what they did is, because this is the only tannery in all of Greenland, and it's the culture of Greenlanders to live this type of lifestyle, because for the last 5,000 years they live what they preach. So when they say you waste not, you don't. You use all parts of the seal, because sealskin is a byproduct of hunting. It's the same as if you were a deer hunter and you went out and killed a deer for food. A lot of hunters will tan this. I know my dad did. He would tan the deer skin and then sell it to friends who liked using it for making different things out of it. And it's the same thing with sealskin. So they make jackets and pants and all kinds of things that's good for living in the Arctic because it's waterproof. It keeps you warm. It's a valuable item to use in the Arctic. And the beauty of it is it's not made from some kind of petroleum product that takes 100 years to degrade.
Yeah.
If it goes back to nature, it turns into nature.
I have to come to.
Anyway, the trust fund is money set aside so that if another bout of being misinformation causes another market crash, the money will take care of the company. We'll never let it go bankrupt.
Nice.
I want to know if the Inuits in Alaska are allowed to hunt seal, even though it's part of the United States.
I have no idea.
I don't know the answer to that one either.
I wouldn't know about that. It's fine because like about animal rights and stuff, like I love animals and I want to treat them humanely and everything. And my dad was a hunter and we ate a lot of deer meat, and
Yep.
he never like hunted for sport. I think probably some of it was necessity. Like I look back now and I think we probably did not have a whole lot of money. I know we didn't have a lot of money, but we kind of ate fish and deer rotating. And as a little girl, he would bring home a deer and process it. And I'm watching him and not even thinking twice about it. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, like people would think that was so awful and horrible, but it was, he did it for food. He did it legally. He didn't kill more than he was supposed to. And had tags and all that kind of stuff. But
yep. I remember when my parents moved us from Christmas, Florida up to Stark, we were there for 9 months, and then my dad got laid off from the job he was on. And the unemployment that he was getting was so small, it barely paid the bills, but there was no grocery money. And we lived an entire fall, winter, and spring off of deer, pigs that we were feeding in the pig pen, and English peas. Because English peas back then in a can were the cheapest thing on the planet, And now I don't eat English peas because they're like.
We alternated fish and deer, and then my mom would go get like Kentucky Fried Chicken every now and then.
Yeah.
So we had a pretty healthy
all the time too. Yeah. I mean, you have to feed your family how you feed your family, I made a mistake here and I took too much of a seam out, so I'm resewing it back in so I can leave it without ripping it all the way out, because I already ripped one all the way out without thinking about it. Darn it.
I did put this throat plate on wrong, and I should have remembered that, so I had to take it off again.
Hi, Cherry. Welcome, welcome. All right, so let me finish ripping this out, and I'm going to show you what it's look like, because I accidentally ripped the whole seam out on one of them. I'm going to show you how I'm going to leave part of the seam. And then I'll do this last seam, and then I'll pull it apart where you see one side of it still sewn together. And it's getting hot in here. I opened the door earlier and let all that cold air in here, and it's already heated up in here again.
So talking about food, I had an uncle who was a prisoner of war, I believe in Korea, and they fed them beans and rice. Like, he practically starved, but when they would feed them, they gave them beans and rice. Mm-hmm. So whenever he got released and stuff and he came home, my mom tells me that like he told his wife, it was my dad's twin sister's husband, he told his wife, never cook beans and rice. Like I never want to eat a bean or a grain of rice ever again.
Yeah, you get tired of it. And when you reach when you're an adult, or like me, I was a teenager when all this was going on. But I did appreciate the fact that we had food on our table.
Yeah.
Because it was a rough time, that time frame.
Yeah.
And then once we moved to Lake City, being on a farm and my mother having pigs and chickens and stuff, all of that went out the window because we lived inside city limits for a while, and then when they bought the house they bought was just outside the city limits. So the only thing she could do is actually grow a garden. She couldn't have chickens or pigs or anything else. And the way of farming went out the window after that. And I think my dad hardly went deer hunting after that. And he still liked to fish though. And after I started having kids, he bought himself the dream that he had been dreaming forever. He wanted a pontoon boat. And he bought him a pontoon boat, and he had it all of the year. And he ended up trading it in for a deep sea fishing boat. Because he decided he wanted to go saltwater fishing.
A little different than pontoon.
Yep, pontoon is not a good idea out in the ocean. Not really.
So did your mom or grandparents or any or grandmothers quilt or anything?
My maternal grandmother did, yeah. I'm
Mm.
not sure why my mother didn't. I actually have a quilt in my um I've got it put away that's probably at least 150 years old, maybe older than that.
Wow.
And the reason it's put away is because it's disintegrating on me because I
Yeah.
used it all the time, slept on it, slept under it, and now every time I would take it out and touch it, you'd see its pieces of it turning to powder. But
Yeah.
Jess of So Blessed Jess said that if I would bring it out and take pictures of it, she might be able to date it based on what the fabric looks like,
Oh,
which will be cool. And then we'll at least know the actual age because I originally had three of Grandma's quilts. Two of them were pieced for single size beds. And then I had this one that was almost a full size, but this one's not pieced. This one looks like it's made from whole pieces of bead sack, maybe. So the front is real colorful, the back is pink, and in between the two, just like with her pieced quilts, was the same thing. She used an old blanket for batting because they were very poor, and they were cotton pickers, is what they were, and they were raising 13 kids way back then.
my mom was one of 13. She was
Oh,
number
really?
12. She
My
was
mom,
number 12, and she has one
yeah,
sister left living,
my mom was
the
the youngest.
youngest.
I think I still have a couple of living aunts. My I think my last uncle passed away. I think he was my last uncle because I think the other two have already passed. One, two, three. Yeah, three of them have passed. Uh, and Uncle Levi passed about a year ago. So that leaves just a couple of my aunts now in that big family.
Yeah.
But I stay in contact with my cousin. She lives in Jasper, where my mother was born and raised, and she was telling me that I didn't realize that two of my cousins in her own family, which are her brother, one of her brothers and one of her sisters, passed, and I never even was aware of them. Because the last time I've actually physically seen them, I saw Doris Sand because she came with her mom and dad when my mother passed. And that was the last, and that was in 2007. It was less than a year after my first husband died. And so that was the first time I'd seen her since I was 7 or 8 years old. The other rest of the kids in her family, I hadn't seen them since.
I had
But
aunts and uncles I never met. I think because my mom was the youngest, some of them were 20 years older than her.
Yep.
And, some of them had passed before I was born from accidents or things like that. So I know a few of my cousins that, that were like really close to my age, and every now and then we would see them or go on vacation together or whatever. But out of that big of a family, we really weren't very close, seeing each other often. Kind of got to where the only time we saw each other were funerals. But, people would come to the funeral. I can remember too, someone's funeral, and we were at my grandmother's nursing home afterwards, and all the kids were like running around outside. And I remember we climbed through some window into the laundry room of the nursing home. Like we were terrorizing the place.
Oh no.
So funerals are where I got to see my cousins.
For some reason, I thought that Doris was younger than me. It turns out that me and her are the same age.
Hmm.
And I don't know why I didn't know that. Okay, looky here, you guys. All right, let me see if I can spotlight this for a minute, and then I'll read what was said in the chat also.
If I get one of these put together to show you, it's so cool the way it turns inside out. Like you have this little slice in the bottom of the pocket, and you have to turn the whole thing through it, and you never think it's going to get through, and then it does.
Okay, so I'm going to show this, and then I'll show you what you're going to show. Okay, so remember they're sewed like this. So all I did is I ripped this to about midways of this purple. And then what I'm going to do is right here, I hope you can see the color. It's really hard to differentiate. Can you see the color difference right here? Wait a minute, let me turn it the other way where you can see the seam. See the seam right here?
Yeah.
I'm going to to disengage this seam here and pull this off. And then I'll be able to pull this purple that's too dark off, and that'll leave this part free, and the rest of this will still be intact on this side. So this is how I do it. Okay, let me unspotlight myself and spotlight you so you can show what you're going to show.
I don't have it put together yet. That's the next one.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, because I just sewed that pocket closed, but once I put the other bag together, I have the instructions here because like you have to lay one side right side up, and then, you know, the way you have to stack all the different pieces, it's just makes no sense to me. And so I have to sit here and like look at it and think, okay, it says exterior back, put face up first.
Yeah.
But then when you get it all together and you can like pull it through that pocket, it's all together nice. It just doesn't make any sense when you're stacking it, what order it should go.
Cherry says sustenance hunting is legal to customs and traditions. And then Judy says, okay, Katie, only the Inuit people can legally hunt seal and must prove that they are at least quarter native. Interesting. Huh.
So where did I put my instructions?
So they want to make sure that it's not non-indigenous hunting seals. And that does make sense. Here's some of you have already heard me say this before, I think. One of the things is we all know that worldwide there's hunters who hunt for trophies. They trophy hunt.
Yeah.
Some countries don't even bother to make it harder to trophy hunt. They just let them do whatever they want to do. So what Greenland has done is when someone wants to come hunt muskox, because their horns are pretty substantial along with their fur and the head. And so what they've done is, if first relating to the indigenous here, there's a quota of 120 muskox that can be hunted a year here in Greenland for the indigenous. The reason that's so low is because they're really working on building the herd population up, and the herd is almost ready to split in half, and they're going to move half the herd down to South Greenland so that Southern hunters can actually hunt once this new group, when they move it, once they've gotten established and they're reproducing like they're supposed to be and everything, they will be able to hunt them on a regular basis. So that's why there's a quota to keep the population from degrading, because of, you know, you don't want to overhunt.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, this is how it works. In order to be able to hunt muskox, you have to you pay for a license to hunt the muskox, and then your name is thrown into a jar, a lottery. It's like pulling a lottery, and when they get ready to do pool drawings for 120 people, your name might not get pulled because it's luck of the draw. So your name could sit in that pot for years before your name ever gets drawn. And Greenlanders are all fine with that. Now, with a trophy hunter that comes from another country, they make sure that they learn about things. So they pay high price to start with. Then they have to spend a week in education. And then when it's time for them to arrive in Greenland to do their trophy hunting, they the licensed game warden, he takes them out to where the herd is, and he picks one muskox and he says, this is the only one you can shoot, just that one. Then when the trophy hunter does that, then when he gets ready to butcher the muskox, he's only allowed to keep the head, the horns, the fur, and 8 kilos of meat. The rest of the meat goes to the town. The hunter himself has to haul all of that down the mountain by himself. The licensed game warden doesn't do any of the work. It's to teach them to respect nature.
That's cool.
That hunting for fun is not, something you do.
Yeah.
I had to go, huh? Oh, she had to Google it. That's what she meant. Okay. Google said the seals are mostly hunted in Canada and Greenland. They used to hunt all the seals here, but they only hunt two particular seals now. There's only one. Well, actually, they just discovered the two. So I'll talk about the harbor seal is native to Greenland. The rest of the seals that come over here in the spring from Canada. They come over here to eat and mate, and there's like 7 species of seals that does that come from Canada. And then in the fall, they migrate back to Canada. The harbor seal is one of them they hunt, and another one is called a harp seal. But those are the two main ones hunted these days. They no longer hunt the bearded seal. I think I got that right. And then there's one called a saddleback seal. Those weigh 1 ton apiece when they're full adult. Jeez. Those two particular seals, but they don't even hunt them anymore. And now scientists found a seal species off the East Coast that they didn't even know was there, that's actually indigenous to Greenland too. So technically they have 2 indigenous seals. But I don't know the population of the newest seal they discovered. Maybe that seal came from Iceland at one point or another. Who knows?
So I just messed up.
Uh-oh.
Well, the zipper, like you use a longer zipper like this, and then, you know, you trim the ends off. Yep. But I didn't move the slider in before I trimmed the ends off. So I have a zipper with no slider.
Add it on after the fact or no?
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can put it back on. I was wondering why I hadn't cut that zipper short, because I wasn't ready for that yet. So I have a little zipper here with a zipper tab on it, and then a big zipper here on my bag with no zipper tab.
Judy, is it raining your way? Thomas says it's been raining the last couple of days in Carrollton. Where you're at, has it been raining much?
It hasn't rained much. It's not. I think we're actually going to be a little east of this worst part of the storms, but it's been sprinkling because we were having a fence put in, and of course it was raining when we were getting the fence, but the guys were able to work because it wasn't heavy rain.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yep, they just finished today.
I bet you're glad about that.
Yeah, it was in the middle of the summer. I was sitting eating breakfast one day and looking out the back window, and I told Dean, "Wow, it's really getting windy out there." And I mean, literally, as soon as I said it, half of our fence blew over. I was like, okay. I saw it. I'm like, well, I'm not ever going to say that again. But yeah, it was old, and so I live in a townhouse. Our neighbors, actually, we all got together, and now we have a whole row of nice, pretty fence connecting our houses. Awesome. I told them our HOA should have paid us some money for that because we made the neighborhood look good.
Yeah.
I wonder if I'm going to be able to do this.
I'm almost done ripping this out. Now, I won't be able to do more to it until I pick a different color. So I might use you guys for judges on picking a color for these 2 dark colors. I think maybe I should I've thought about trying a dark green. What do y'all think?
Against the blue? Do they not need to be the same? Do they not need to be like the same color with just different shades?
They just need to be so this purple right here with the polka dots, this one.
Yeah.
That's the dark color that is the front of that 3-dimensional block. You're supposed to do a lighter dark that's supposed to be lighter, but as you can see, you can't hardly tell the difference.
Yeah.
Then you have light on the other side, that's not what I'm ripping out. So I got to figure out what color I can use between this purple polka dot and this dark blue, because this was another dark that had to go in. Oops, sorry. You only see a small blue right here. See, this is also dark. So I need to find a color that will go in between that's lighter than both sides of this dark without going too light, because we have this very light on this side and you don't want both sides to be light of that big block.
Yeah.
So I need it to be a shade lighter than the darker, if that makes sense. So I was thinking maybe I could use a green, because that might work. Or, yeah, or a turquoise. I don't know. I really don't want to use more turquoise because I have quite a bit of turquoise sitting in this quilt already. It'll look like I've gone a little batty on the turquoise. So what I thought I would do is bring out a stack of them and see what y'all thoughts were on it.
We can vote.
And it'll give you an idea of how I pick colors anyway. Because I've been picking colors as at with each section, I've been picking colors as I go along. I don't have any set, I don't have it all written out that this is going to be this, this, and this, and this, you know.
Yeah.
I'm based on how the quilt is looking and whether I like it or not. And if the color doesn't look right to me, I was a little iffy about this purple, but I wasn't sure. And I'm like, the only way I'm going to find out is put it in there and see what happens.
Yeah. What's that? The Quilting Marine says it's only fabric, it's only thread.
Yep.
You can
I
get
am
more.
wasting a lot of thread though.
Well,
but
if you have to waste something, that's one of the lesser evils to worry about, I guess.
Yeah, thread's easy to get my hands on anyway, so.
What about fabric? Are you able to buy fabric there?
Everything I buy for my little hobby comes from the United States, including the thread. Now, I could probably try using the superior thread, but I've been using Arfil for so long, I really don't want to jinx myself and try using something different.
I'm an Arfil girl.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. The only thing I don't like about Arfil is how dusty it is. You can see the dust congregate around the foot, the needle foot.
Yeah, but then see, I get to clean it.
Yeah, it's like, clean me, please. I am gagging on thread dust.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this on. And I have 2 other ones to sew, so I may just pick them up and not try to fix this one right now.
Yeah.
That's frustrating. We'll do that later. Okay, so this one, I will open the zipper in front of you so I don't forget. And cut the thing off. Because you have to leave it open so that then you can like pull that's in the back pocket so that you can pull it through. And if you don't have it open, it's closed and you can't get your hand in.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I need interior back right side up.
So Joe Carmel says a medium green might work. And Mama J says she gave you coloring page. Yes, you did.
She gave you a color what?
A coloring page to make color on it.
Oh, is that the person that wrote the pattern, right?
Yeah, her name is Andrea. She's Mama J Enterprises. She's sitting in the chat. She's sitting in the chat watching me pick all this out.
It's a beautiful pattern.
Sorry,
it's really
sweet.
pretty.
But it'll be all fixed, and then I'll start on section 8 tomorrow. I'm probably going to do section 8 and 9 tomorrow, and then Saturday I'll get section 10 prepped for sewing for the live, and I'll do that, and then we'll sew all 5 sections together, and then all will be left is sewing the first 5 to the last 5, and the whole quilt will be done. The quilt top will be done as far as the piecing's done. And then I'm going to have to go find, I think I want to take it to the soccer field. There's a big tall fence around the soccer field, and I'm going to take a sheet with me, and I'm going to clip the sheet to the fence and then clip the quilt top to the fence and take a picture of it. Because
I have a pretty new fence now to take pictures with. I have
lucky you.
It's funny. I should take one of the quilts that I put on the fence before and take a picture and show the before and after of the fence.
Yeah, that would be great.
I have to show you this. I have to show you this. This is such a weird, this is why I was saying like get confused. Like this is the front. Yeah, that's the front and the front inside. And you sew them together this way. And then the back has the pocket hanging off of it. It's really like a puzzle. It's weird the way it goes together. It's perfect once you do it, but I do have to like sit here and concentrate and follow and like read one sentence at a time and do what it tells me to do.
Yep.
Okay, so I need the interior back up. I need the front interior down and the exterior right side down. So you do all that, stack them up, and then you make a sandwich and put clips around them and sew through 18 layers of fabric, it feels like.
Knowing me, I would probably sew them together backwards.
I'm serious. It's like I am just like stopping and carefully reading the instructions and reading them again. But I totally skipped the put the zipper, open the zipper before you start thing.
Yep.
Or, oh yeah, open the zipper before you cut the ends of the zipper off, actually.
Thought I ripped all the seam out, but apparently not.
Neither one of us has progressed very far on our project.
I don't know. I wasn't expecting to, yeah. And I'm gonna take a break here in a minute and share what I got in the mail. Someone, y'all know her, Sister Chicks Quilting,
Ooh, I love her.
sent me a little bag of yummies. So I'm gonna share it with you guys. And I'm gonna show you my latest Sweetwater quilt labels that came in the mail. And I was trying to find I have a plastic container that I keep all my quilt labels in so that they don't get any moisture or anything in them. Or, I don't want them getting messed up, put it that way, because, they traveled a long way to get to me.
So if you're an Aurifil lover, you know how good this feels, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I've accomplished something when I have an empty spool from Aurifil. I'm like, wow, I really sewed
I'm thinking about, I have like 5 of these now or 6 of these. Thinking about hanging them from the ceiling when I get back in the sewing room, if I ever get back in the sewing room. Nikolai will be home in 2 weeks. Yay. He's in port right now. They took a load in to Sissymoot today. And I don't know if they're sailing tonight or tomorrow, but they brought in 384 tons, I think. Something like that.
Of what?
Northern Atlantic shrimp.
Ooh, I love shrimp.
So he works on a 75-meter long factory shrimp trawler. Do you know what that means exactly?
I do. Well, I know what a shrimp trawler is. I grew up in Louisiana. I've seen those, but they're like the small.
Yeah, this one also has a factory in it though. So when they haul the shrimps in, it goes into this tube and it goes down below deck and then it's processed. So basically there's if the shrimps are really big, they are flash frozen raw and put into 1 kilo boxes and 2 kilo boxes. The 1 kilo boxes go to Japan and the 2 kilo boxes go to Italy. Then the rest is sea cooked and it's distributed also in 2 kilo boxes, or they have what they call industry bags, which holds 100 kilos, I think. And yeah, and they make the most money off of the Japanese shrimp and the Italian shrimps, but I think I think that they're about to sign a contract with y'all are gonna croak when I tell you, but China wants to buy shrimps from us too.
Whoever wants to buy them.
Yeah.
I do love me some shrimp.
I do too. I take the raw. He sends home a case of raw shrimps every so often, and then I make shrimp scampi with them. Sometimes I'll make chicken and shrimp gumbo with it too.
I do remember, now that you say that, I do remember when I was a kid, my dad, every now and then, him and some friends, it was like 7 or 8 hours to get to the coast, to the Gulf from where we lived in Louisiana. And every now and then, him and some friends would like take a truck with a bunch of coolers in the back and go down to the shrimp boats and buy them straight off the shrimp boats.
Mm-hmm.
Bring them home. So we ate shrimp too.
Man, shrimp was expensive in Florida. My goodness. Here all seafood's more affordable than it is in the United States. It's crazy. Okay, here's what this looks like after I pulled off part of. You'll see how it's like a ladder, kind of like down here. You see that?
Yeah.
Okay, and it's okay to leave it like this. And so what I'll do now is I'm going to pull this purple off the side of this blue, okay? And that's going to leave this part intact. And then when I choose the right color for, this is the strip that needs to be replaced, then I'll sew it back onto here. And then I'll take this end of it and I'll rejoin it, make sure that this piece is in the right row. So I'll start with row 1, row 2, by adding them on to the purple again, like this. Sew this, and then I'll add the next one, sew this on, and then I will fold it and sew back down the seam the lengthways. Then I'll come back over here on the other side. Now I accidentally ripped the whole seam on this one side, but there should have been 4 of these. And I'll do this, I'll repeat the same thing, and I'll sew the 2 together. Then I'll sew the 2 centers together, or the main center seam. I'll sew that together, and it'll be back one piece again. And I won't have had to rip all of it out like this. That's something I learned how to do watching Kimberly from Fat Quarter Shop. Okay, so let me get a couple different shades of green, and we'll see if we can find a color that'll be okay with this purple. Be right back.
Okay, one thing a featherweight will not do is sew over a zipper pull. It's like these zippers were really easy to put in. Now putting the whole thing together is giving me a challenge. That is a really pretty pattern, Andrea. I always love the three-dimensional excuse me, I always love the three-dimensional stuff, but I'm one of those people too that don't always pick the right colors to get the three-dimensional look. You know, it really depends on those shades and values and stuff and the contrast. I can't see the comments, so I can't like talk back with you guys. I should have set up a screen where I could, I guess. There's so many layers, you really have to watch this to make sure none of your layers are slipping. And I used fusible fleece on it, so I'm going through about 3 layers of fusible fleece, 2 or 3 layers of fabric, well, 4 or 5 layers of fabric, running over a zipper now and then. These were this bag was fat quarter friendly. It uses like 2 fat quarters for each one, an interior and an exterior. I thought these might make good gifts for friends for Christmas, and then like, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm giving my best friend one, so I don't know that any of my other friends deserve this much attention and work on a project. That's terrible. Maybe they won't watch this video.
I'm going to, can everybody see this one okay? Or do you want it on the main screen here? So let me show you the purple and the blue. I'll just put it up here. Try to anyway. Okay, this is the purple and this is the blue. All right, now I'll show you 3 different shades of green. And I feel like there's this shade of green.
Are the purple and blue supposed to be like dark and medium?
They're supposed to both be dark.
Oh, okay.
Which they are.
Okay.
So I still need a dark on this side between the 2, but it needs to be less dark, just if that makes sense. Hey, honey. My honey's in the chat. So we got this green, this green, and this green. I keep losing this blue one.
If it's supposed to be really close, I like that first one.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that one too.
The middle one's definitely too light bright.
Yeah, they're a bit brighter, and I don't want them to be too bright because it'll take away from the bright side on the other side.
Yeah.
So you think this will work the best then? Because I was thinking if I just changed the color completely, maybe I wouldn't have that clash of color, you know?
Yeah. What everybody else say?
No one said nothing yet. I got to give them a chance to answer. Nikolai just dropped in. So let me hang this back up here again so they can all see. And then there's this green. Hey, baby, are you on the boat or are you somewhere else? Andrea says she got a stripology ruler for her birthday, so she had to design a stripology quilt. I want a stripology ruler so bad. My husband says I can have one. I just keep postponing ordering one because I think I'm going to order a new cutting pad too, which is very big. No one's commenting. What say you guys? You think that green will be all right?
Do you know what it fits above and below the rows around it, or does that really matter as long as they're, because you're still using the other pattern, like if the row above or below is the right contrast, then that one should be.
It'll work with the above row.
Okay.
Ah, you're with a friend. Okay. Oh, good. That means you're not on the boat. Hallelujah. You're taking a break like everybody else. No one's making a comment. Did everybody leave? I hope not.
I remember when we were kids, we would go down to Galveston on the Gulf, and there was a restaurant called Pier 19, I think. It's weird, I remember the name from that long ago. And they would bring the shrimp boat up to the back of the restaurant and like dump them out on a deck, and then they'd take them in and cook them. It's like you could not get shrimp fresher than that at a restaurant,
Yeah,
Straight
I know what you mean. Yeah, nothing like fresh. I had when we moved up to North Florida, away from South Florida, because my parents went fishing on the St. Johns River all the time, and they would come when we went out, they would come back with 5 or 6. I think the green's going to work fine. I definitely think it'll work because it definitely is still dark, but it's not going to bleed into the other 2 colors. But we would come home with 2 or 3 messes of fish. And he would hurry up and clean them and butcher them. And then my mother would freeze them in blocks of ice, meaning that she had containers filled with water. She'd drop them in the water and stick them in the freezer. And then once that block of ice was frozen, she would put them in a plastic bag. And the next time when she got ready to thaw them out, it was like you had caught them that day when you pull them out of ice like that.
That's exactly the way my mom did it. She would save the milk cartons, like the waxed cardboard milk cartons, and fill them with water and throw the fish in. Like we had a freezer full of milk cartons of fish.
So maybe that's a Southern thing that you're taught when you're being raised, maybe. Yeah. Because that's how she did it, and fish never tasted like it smelled.
Yeah, so, and you're right. And when you defrosted it and cooked it, it tastes like it had just come out of the lake.
Yep. And when we moved to North Florida, there was a fish market up there, and I would go up there sometimes and try to buy snapper or cat or bass. That's what it was, bass, because I like bass. Man, they taste so fishy. They're not supposed to taste like that. And first time I told my husband that, he's like, "What do you mean by that?" I'm like, "It's not supposed to taste like it smells." Jackie says, "Katie, you are making me homesick with all the talk of Florida." Oh, hi, Arlie. How are you? And Arlie says that, I don't know if you're a girl or a guy. Is Arlie a girl's name or a guy's name?
Sounds like a woman's name. Maybe.
Arlie likes the green too. So that's what I'll go with. I'll go with the green. So I need to press it so I can cut some strips. And then we can I need to remove these other strips first. The purple off of this purple. So let's get that done first. But I think what I'll do is I'll take a break here for a minute, and I'll show you what came in the mail today. Everybody want to see what came in the mail?
Always.
So I'll show you the Sweetwater one first. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Sweetwater, but Sweetwater makes quilt labels. They also sell, they design fabric. It's called Sweetwater fabric. So the Sweetwater fabric's different than most kinds of fabric. Look who woke up and come in here. I thought you were never coming in here. Was you sleeping in the hallway? Now hey, wait, watch out. You're going to jerk my phone on the floor, girl. Okay, here is what came in this one.
That's pretty.
Have a blessed day, Heather.
It's fabric?
Yeah, it's fabric on the front. It has this sticky stuff like an iron-on on the back.
Okay.
And what I like to do is I'll iron it on a piece of fabric. And then I turn around and I sew fabric all the way around it. And then make it part of a block. So I'm trying to find my container that has all my labels in it because I'm going to use a smaller label and I'm going to incorporate it in one of the strips on the front of the quilt instead of on the back of the quilt. And then what I want to do is when I get the whole thing finished, I would like to find a quilt long armor and send it to them. And maybe I can get it quilted before Christmas and then get it bound, and maybe I can give it to one of the grandkids as a gift. Probably the oldest one. Okay. As I said, this came from Sister Chick's Quilts. So she sent me a little gift bag, and I'm going to take out what's in it. I just opened it. I haven't looked at the fabric. So let's pull it out. And I'll start showing you the first one. Let's see if there's any labels on any of this or on this particular piece of fabric. Doesn't look like it. Oh, wait. Yes, there is. Okay, let me show it to you first, and then I'll tell you what it is. Unless one of you can guess what it is. Okay, let's see who this is by. This is by Holly Holderman, called Fretwork, from lakehousegoods.com. So I've never even heard of this person. Okay, so there's the pink. It's like a pink, dark pink maybe. I'm not sure. Okay, the next one is a Riley Blake design fabric called Red, White, and Bang. So this looks like an orange to me. But the camera's making it look kind of red too, isn't it?
Yeah. Pretty fall colors.
Yep. The next one is by Kimberbell. Hang on a minute. It says, no, wait, not Kimberbell. Sorry. It says Kimberly's Garden Collection by Freshwater Designs, a division of E.E. Shink Co. Never heard of that one either. Interesting. Okay. So this would make great binding, you guys.
Yeah.
Every time I see stripes like this, I want to make binding out of it.
Is that the same color like pink or coral that's in the other ones?
Yep.
Okay.
Sure looks that way. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. Okay, the next one is by the same company that I just, Kimberly's Garden Collection. So here is a lilac color.
That's pretty.
And there looks like there's about, let me see how much this in here. It looks like about a yard. It might be 2.
Jeez. Yeah, that's 2.
It looks like 2. Yep, it's 2. Nice. Can actually do this with some stuff. So let me put it next to this one. Okay. And then this looks like batik. Or it's ombre one. It's batik. Okay. He knows I love batiks. Here we go.
That's pretty. I wonder if that would blend with the purple, the lavender or lilac color too, and like connect the purples and the orange.
It might. So that's what came from Sister Chick's quilting. Pretty cool, huh?
That's really nice.
Now this one looks like it might be a half a yard. Yeah, it's a half a yard. But that's what it looks like. It'd be great for doing art, like a modern quilt with it.
Mm-hmm.
So the rest of them are all over a yard. So that's really cool. So that's what came in the mail today. And thank you, Sister Chick's Quilting. And I had emailed her to tell her that it came, and she says, wow, it took a while. But according to the package, it looks like she mailed it on August the 26th. And right now it's November 20.
September 26th.
I'm sorry. September.
So about 4 weeks.
Yeah, about a month. So that's not too terribly bad. And it came from Idaho.
Oh.
ID is Idaho, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
So that's what she gifted me with. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It's not every day I get fabric in the mail from someone that's watching my YouTube stuff.
So I'm ready to turn this inside out if you want to see.
Yep, let me spotlight you.
So it doesn't look like anything. It's all it's just a bunch of stuff sewn together. But you put your hand in the hole at the bottom of the pocket, like you leave it there. And you just pull everything through that hole, like you turn it inside out through that hole. I would never be able to figure this out on my own, like how to get it to do that, and not like how to lay things out in the right order so that it would do this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like it's going to do anything until it does.
That's always been a hard thing, turning things in. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen people that do that
in
a quilt, and they call it like birthing a quilt.
Yeah.
If you don't put binding and you just do the turn inside out thing. But
looks like there's only a yard of this dark pink one. Yep, it's only a yard.
And once you get it all turned inside out, I don't press the edges. I just kind of like roll them in my fingers, but I need to go through and like push the corners out better. But then once it's all inside out or right side out, you go in and that hole that you pulled it through in the pocket, you just need to sew the hole together. Just a little edge stitch. And then it's hidden in the bottom of the pocket and nobody knows how you got it in there. They're fun. It's a cute little bag. It is just very fiddly. The cutting took me days just because I dreaded it so bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2 fat quarters and you put iron-on interfacing like in a certain piece of it, and then you cut other pieces that aren't. And I used fusible fleece. It probably made it harder than I needed it to be because it's very, very bulky. Like to try to sew, if I'd used just plain interfacing, it probably would have been easier to sew. But I really like that it feels so plush, you know. I like that it has the thickness. So I finished one.
That's super cute.
This putting it together part is the only thing I have left on all of them. Just lay it the right.
How long will the strap be on it?
Sorry?
How long will the strap be on it, or does it not have straps?
It doesn't have one because it's meant to just like throw in your suitcase.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. But it does have the little tab where you could put a ring on it and like put your keys or attach it to something. I think they said like you could put like a swivel hook on it so that in your suitcase or in a tote bag you could actually like attach it to something. But yeah, it's meant to just throw in your suitcase.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
Also use in your carry-on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it could organize a lot of stuff, but it was just funny because both of us, since we both had the Apple products and I had my iPad and my ear pods and my phone and my watch, and she had like her air, uh, tablet, whatever. And now I can't come up with the word iPad. She had her iPad and her phone and her watch. And out of all of that, like there were 2 chargers that would do more than one thing. And all the rest of them had to have their individual charger. So it was just always funny in the evenings and we're trying to pack, or whenever we're having to pack and it's like scrambling around looking for all the cords and everything. But yeah, you could use it for anything that needed to be kind of organized like that. But that's my project du jour.
Hey,
Actually,
Andrea,
per week.
Andrea, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the fabric after the live tonight because I have a trouble cutting fabric and trying to pay attention to that at the same time. I'm not so good at cutting fabric on a live, so I will get this section put back together again, and I'll post a picture in the community tab and in the Facebook group of where I replaced the color so y'all can see what it looks like. And then I'll go ahead and start on I'll start on 8 and 9 tomorrow, section 8 and 9 tomorrow, and then Saturday, let's hope that I can get section 10 done and we sew all of it together.
You're doing like a test or sample, right? You're doing
I'm testing her pattern. Yeah. I had hoped to sew those 2 sections together, but I was very unhappy with that color because when I looked at it on a picture, I'm like, that's just so wrong. And when I checked, you know how you can make it black and white and you can see the different shades? It looked like they were both the same color based on what the camera was seeing. So I knew I was in trouble.
Well, yeah, and I mean, even seeing it here, just looking at it, you know, on camera, but in color, it just looked like a solid block. You really couldn't see the distinction between the 2.
Yeah, and I didn't want that one little row to mess up the whole design because the idea is to make it, you know, while you're testing it, to also do your best to make it look beautiful so that when she does get ready to distribute the pattern, everybody will have an idea of what.
Right.
And the interesting thing about this pattern is she has another tester and her tester is putting it together different than how I'm doing it. And I was really surprised because now she's using a jelly roll and she's putting the whole thing together on the design board before she sews the pieces together. I'm doing different and to keep myself from getting confused, and I'm not going to show you the measurements, but what I've been doing is there's 8 colors per row and I made me a like a cheat sheet.
Yeah.
And I label each one of these based on the number of the row, and then I put the measurements all across here and the colors I'm going to use. That way, when I start sewing each row together, I don't get myself confused because each row is put together differently based on how the pieces are cut. That's what's giving that dimensional shape to it, is because of how each row is cut. So this is like a cheat sheet I'm going to share with Andrea. I don't know if she wants to take, I don't know if she'll incorporate in the pattern, but it's a way of someone who, because basically I think anyone can make this block, this quilt, as long as they keep everything organized. That's the chief thing, is just not getting disorganized where you're accidentally mixing the wrong size pieces with the wrong row. Because if you stay organized, it's simple. It's the longest part of it for me that took the longest was cutting fabric. Now, if you use a jelly roll, then you can throw it together in fast.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do it from yardage. Okay, Andrea says to you, love it, Ginger. Did you say where the pattern came from?
I bought it on Etsy and it's called Tech Organizer. And I saw it other place. Actually, I bought it from the designer. I bought it from their website because I think that was the only place you could do a download. I'll look it up on my phone real quick.
And while she's doing that, Judy says, my mom would take fish and soak them overnight in salt water and then freeze them in the water. We lived in Illinois and it was always freshwater fish. Gotcha. That's a great, I never heard of that, but I bet that does make the fish pretty tasty too. Andrea says, I have 8 testers currently in it, and it always interests me how different sewists put together the same pattern and the different methodology. Yeah, when I saw what your other tester was doing, I'm like, I didn't think of that. So yeah, I guess it's how our brains are wired. All of us do things differently, but we all end up in the same spot by the end of it.
So I've been designing a pattern that's for scraps. And when I laid it out and whenever I'm working on it, I was getting confused with the layout. And, it's just like you were saying, like it just needs to be certain order and it's not difficult. You just have to pay attention. And when I have someone doing the pattern writing for me, and when I was writing it up for her to send, it's like all of a sudden I saw, oh my gosh, like this is a block and this is a block. And if you put it this way, it's really easy. And I hadn't even seen it. And I've made that quilt twice. And something about showing it to someone else and describing it made it just like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah, it's like the pattern. It's funny with this pattern. And I know that all of us, when we look at something new, we might not necessarily, let me see if I can get this up close a bit, because I'm going to point out some things about this pattern that I didn't notice when I first started. So over on this side edge here, you'll see where there's a half block, but they're 2 different colors. So it's light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. But over here on the other side of the edge, you have half a block that's the same color. See what I'm talking about right here? And then you have this rotation of light and, dark, light. And it went until I got maybe to the 3rd row. I realized, wait, she has a, because I noticed over here, when I looked at mine, I'm like, I don't need to be doing the same thing on this side that I'm doing on this side. And this is how you learn how to do patterns. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a visual learner like me.
So the company is called Around the Bobbin. And like I said, I ordered it. Let's see.
Hang on. Let me spotlight you.
I've gotten glare.
Yeah, and let me get you on the bigger screen here so they can see what you're. It's weird how cameras have trouble with cell phone.
Yeah.
Set it in front of it and let it focus in first. Sometimes that'll help. Maybe.
Well, the company's called Around the Bobbin, and it's called the Tech Organizer. And I think only from their site you can get the download. Like Etsy, I found it all over the internet. Etsy, Amazon had it, but I think those were all for the paper. The only place I found you could do the download was from their site, Around the Bobbin.
What I could do when we hang up tonight is before you leave, I can get the name of the website. And then what I'll do, everybody, is I'll post it down below the description box in the comment section, and I'll pin it. So that any of you who are interested in making that bag can go have a look at it.
Yeah. I'm not a big bag maker, and I'm enjoying the final product. I have not enjoyed the sewing just because I like to freeform more, and I've really had to pay attention to the instructions. But that's just because I wouldn't have been able to freeform it and come up with this myself anyway. But it is a great pattern, and the instructions are good. You just have to read a sentence and think about it, and read a sentence and think about it, and lay it down and make it look like their picture, and then it works great.
What is your exact channel name so I can go look it up? Apparently you're not in my bot, which is my fault.
Copycat Quilter.
Okay, yeah, I knew it was something like that. I wanted to get it right because sometimes if I put it in backwards, it doesn't come out that way. Copycat Quilter. Okay, let me go look it up so I can share the link, because I just realized I haven't shared your link at all tonight, and that's not fair. Okay, Copycat Quilt.
And I promise I'm going to get another video out soon.
Before you took a little time off, was there specific days of the week that you did post videos?
No. I work full time and stuff, and it was kind of when I could get to one. I think I'm going to try to do one a month. I feel like I was trying to do more than that, and it made it a challenge. I felt pressure to do it, and I don't need a lot more pressure in my life. So I think I could probably do one a month pretty easily and not feel stressed about it, you know?
Yep. Okay, I'm posting her link. If you're not subscribed to her channel, can y'all flip over there and share a little love? And I'll make sure I get her channel name into my bot so that I can share the link easier. And I still I keep forgetting to ask Sean to walk me through setting up the way to people can come in with their channels and they can use that exclamation selfie to share their channel if they want to. I haven't figured out how to do that, and I'm going to get him to walk me through setting it up in my bot so that people can also share links that way.
Right.
Do you guys have any questions you want to ask or anything you want to tell us about, or I don't know, something? And I have this poll going on up here. Let's see what that looks like too.
After talking about how much I like this machine, like it's giving me fits with the tension on the bobbin for some reason. I don't have something.
Maybe
I don't have something. Well, I don't have something right on the way the bobbin is threaded. It's funny because this one, just like the thread goes through the needle sideways, the bobbin also, you know how bobbins usually like spin backwards?
Yeah.
Like, you know, these spin forward. So it's, I probably put it in spinning backwards instead of the forward way. It's just
Andrea said she just subbed you. She just subscribed to your channel.
Thank you.
Okay, while I'm waiting to see if anyone wants to ask something. Oh, wait. Andrea says, what does it measure? She needs something for her ThinkPad.
It's probably small for that. Let me see, I still have the website up. 6 3/4 by 9 inches. So it's not, I mean, I don't know if it'd be, I guess it depends on how big, but like, I don't know. I don't think a mini, like a mini iPad would fit in here. It looks kind of small for that. But it is big enough to hold my charger brick for my trips.
Pat also said she subbed to your channel as well.
Thank you.
All right.
So many of us just do this because we enjoy sharing and having fun. I mean, there's not money there until you get to Missouri Star size or something. It's more just having fun and getting to share what you love to do.
I find it's hard trying to get the, I've been sitting, it's like I'm vegetating at this 14,850 watch hours. And it's been sitting there for months now. And I'm like, come on, let's go over the 15,000. That would make me happy, you know?
You know what's cool though? You think every now and then when I look at that, I'm like, oh my gosh, people have spent that much time watching something that I did.
Amazing.
It's like, that's really stunning. And it makes me feel like some responsibility to put out good stuff. If people are going to spend their lives, you know, hours in their lives looking at what I've done, I want it to be good quality.
The fact that I have over 1,000 watchers is shocking to me. I'm like, you know, or subscribers. I mean, it shocks me that many people have subbed to my channel, and I feel like I don't have tons to offer yet, but they enjoy it. Okay, so Andrea says she says yes, it's too small, but she's good at resizing things. And then Pat, I think I already mentioned that she subscribed. I think Judy Hebert said she subscribed, and Arlie said checked, and she's already subscribed.
That's nice.
3 new subscribers tonight.
That's nice.
Yep, very nice.
I did notice on mine, like when you start, it's kind of slower. And then the more content you get out there, the more like it starts picking up and you're like surprised it's going faster than it was. You know, it just builds some momentum. And then the more you have out there, the more people see it. But I just do it because it's fun. I like to teach.
It's like the views are really larger. Like there's 85,000 views, but the watch hours, that's what in the grander scheme of things, it's the watch hours that help push your channel. And it's slow going, but everybody's watching because I'm not complaining at all. Surprised that many people have spent that many hours watching. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's me too. I'm just like, wow, these people gave a lot of, I mean, it's a lot of people giving part of their life, but it's like, wow,
Yep.
that's a lot of people giving attention to something that you created, which is really cool.
And I try to spend at least so many hours a week, even if, like, when I'm sewing by myself, I'll put like one of y'all's channels on, and I'll go into the main channel page, and down below where you have each thing second, you can tell it play all, and I'll
Yeah.
press the play button, and I listen, and I sew. Yo, Patty Jean, she's here. She says, you live in the best area for winter storms. You should make a video of blizzard weather. The reason I say that is because I watch snowy blizzard sleep videos every night. Okay, I'll see what I can do about that the next bitter rock we get when snow's happening at the same time. That's a great idea. And she says, I saw a channel double their million views to 2 million in a year. Yeah, I don't know how they're
Wow.
doing that. It's crazy. And then Andrea says, I told her that I live close to Galveston and asked if she was familiar with Alvin, Texas. I don't know who that was directed at. And then, hey, so Terry, she says, I just shared a video showing my fabric I won on my fabric addiction. Cool. I'll go over there and have a look. If you haven't liked this video yet, can y'all hit the thumbs up, please? Because I usually don't even ask for my own channel. Always going to other people's channels. Hit that thumbs up like button, please.
I forget that too sometimes, just like on my videos, like, oh, wait, you're supposed to say subscribe and like and share.
Yeah, I always say it in other people's channels just so, because a lot of times when you're doing things, you and I are me, I'm busy sewing and talking and monitoring the chat. You're doing all this multitasking. You don't think about inside your head, oh, yeah, you better, why not ask them to like your video? I don't think of that.
Yeah.
So it gets slipped through the cracks, but I do ask everybody in other people's channels to do it. Okay, let me read the poll. Those of two people just came in. Patty and Terry, do you want to answer the poll before I give the final results of that? I have a poll up top of the chat. If you'll uh, answer the question, we'll see what the poll says.
Is that about
And
the fabric color or did I miss a poll?
it was right at the top of the chat.
I didn't get on
and you said
YouTube
you
where I
couldn't
can see it.
Yeah, you said you couldn't see the chat, so that's okay.
Yeah.
She says you can make a 15-minute video and put it on a 10-hour loop. How do you do that? You're going to have to teach me how to do that, because that would be great for all kinds of things. Carrie said she did a while ago. Patty, do you want to answer the poll question? And then I'll give everybody the stats. And I'll read out what the question was. Every time I have a live lately, I've been making polls and asking silly little questions. Hello, Denise. Welcome. Nice to see you. I have a poll up top, Denise, if you want to answer the question. Okay. Let's see if Denise wants to answer the question too. And then I'll give you all the stats.
And then I'll
Oh,
go
she
find
was
some,
here, but she couldn't chat what Terry said.
I'll go
That's why.
find some video on how to run a zipper back onto the zipper when you pull the tab off.
When I was making my own clothes, I don't know which was harder, putting a zipper in a dress or putting buttonholes in a shirt.
These zippers, I have found bags with zippers are really easy because you're sewing straight on one side and then on the other. Like it's not
Yep.
like you're trying to fit it into a seam. You're
Yep.
you're sewing the pieces onto the zipper instead of the zipper into the pieces. But yeah, cutting it off wasn't a good idea.
I bought a couple of patterns for myself while I was in the US this last time, because I brought home I think it's 4.5 yards of a batik. It's like a dark blue color with intermingling of greens and other colors. I want to make a short sleeve button down the front shirt out of this very soft batiks I bought. I think it would look, the only thing I'm a little worried about is learning how to make buttonholes on this thing. It can do it, I just haven't learned how to do it yet.
Yeah.
Okay, has everybody answered the poll? Okay. All right. She said she did. All right. Here is what the question is. The question is, what size quilts do you love to make the most? The first one was mini to wall hanging quilts. The second choice was lap to small quilts. The third choice was single to queen size quilts. And the last one was the monster size ones. So here's the stats. 16% voted on mini to wall hanging quilts. 58% voted on lap to small quilts. 19% voted for single to queen, and 7% voted for the monster size ones. Thank you, guys. All right, now let me see what time it is, because I know we're getting, yep, we've been on for 2 hours.
Wow. Yeah, my stomach's rumbling. It's dinner time, so.
Yep, that's why I know that's why I'm trying really, really hard not to go to that 3-hour mark, because I know that puts Eastern Standard Time people who generally eat around 6 o'clock and out late eating. So I'm trying to be more mindful of that. And I know I don't have to, because y'all didn't say you were on a time limit, but it doesn't really, doing an extra hour doesn't really help with stats either. So
Yeah.
People get bored and they want to go watch other things, and that's okay. All right.
Well, we talked enough about shrimp. I'm going down to cook some shrimp.
Yeah, shrimp. I want a steak's what I want, but darn it, I have to wait. Let me see. Terry says, since I am making a baby quilt and a throw and art quilt, I will save those. Okay. And Andrea says, can you guess which one I selected, Katie? I would say the monster ones. Am I right on that, Andrea? I bet you make the really big ones. And then Terry says she only made one large quilt. She made a quilt as you go in 3 sections and sewed it together. And Terry says, yes, it's after 6 and I'm eating dinner. See, some are already eating. Let's see if I guessed right for Andrea. I bet it's the big one.
I did start with my candy bar first, so it's been an hour and a half since the candy bar. We can do dinner.
Yeah. I didn't even see you eating the candy bar. You showed it to us, but then I didn't see you eating it.
I was slipping it in while I was cleaning my machine.
I was right guessing that she does the monster size one. So the biggest one I have done so far was 110 by 110, and that's the one I sold that I was paid to make. And my goodness, I'm glad I didn't quilt it. My friend Christine helped me quilt it, so I was really happy with that, because she had a long arm and I took it along with my Stronger Together to the United States and they were quilted on her long arm. All right. Thank you for coming to my live tonight. Thank you for listening to my housekeeping stuff. I hope I didn't run anybody off with that. And like I said, y'all keep everybody who is in the line of fire of Hurricane Helene in your thoughts and prayers, and send good thoughts their way, because a lot of people are going to be scared tonight or worried for their families and what they live in. And some people are having to leave their homes because they're not safe in what they live in. So y'all say prayers for all of them and send good thoughts their way, because the sooner this thing gets done, the faster people can get back on their lives. And hopefully, I'm really praying it doesn't leave a train wreck behind it, but I'm not, we all know how it goes. As a Florida girl, we've been through so many of them. After a while, you when you're looking at a hurricane, you're like, okay, this one might do some damage. This one's going to really do damage. Now, this one, when I first saw her forming, she was 789 miles across. Wow. And I'm like, oh my God, she could cover the entire state of Florida, but she's reduced a bit. I mean, Georgia was feeling the outer bands yesterday, and Alabama too. I don't know about Louisiana. Were you feeling any bands yesterday? Getting any of the wind feels?
Me?
Yeah.
My daughter lives there. I live in outside Philadelphia.
Okay. Well, but I knew somebody that lived in Louisiana you mentioned.
Yeah, my daughter does, and then my mom's outside of Houston. So there's a lot of storms where I watch it pass over my mom, then pass over my daughter.
Yeah. It's crazy how it goes.
Yeah.
An interesting thing is when I first moved here, well, actually, I got to experience the first one when I was here for the visit the first time, right before we got married. It was weird. They were having a bitter rock on New Year's Eve, and everybody's outside shooting off fireworks. And I'm standing there watching this, and I'm like, Nikolai, they're gonna burn somebody's house down with this wind. And the wind was like a hurricane. It was strong. It'll knock you off your feet.
Huh.
And I was just beside myself on this. And I'm like, and so the first night, and so the wind went on through the next night or through the night. And I kept jumping up, and he's like, what's wrong with you? I said, the roof is going to come off the house. He says, honey, no, it won't. I promise you, no roofs will be off the houses tomorrow when you walk out the door. And I'm like, if you lived in Florida, it would be for this.
Yes.
So when I went out the door the next morning, not one house had a missing roof or anything else missing off of it. They build these houses here to stand up to Arctic conditions, and
Yeah.
the wind is one of them. Okay. Glinda says, everyone have a blessed night and stay safe. Carrie said she survived Superstorm Sandy. Yep, I remember that one.
I did.
And she said it left some deep scars. I'm sure that it did. Pat says she enjoys the videos. Prayers for those in the path of Helena. Andrea says, where are you? Oh, she's asking someone else. Oh, wait, no, Carrie's asking Andrea where she is. General area, you don't have to give out your address. And she says near Galveston, so she's been through some Texas hurricanes too. And Carrie says, Texas. Yep. Okay. So thank you for tonight. Thank you for coming. I'll see you guys on Saturdays live at 7 p.m., which would be 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Sharice is going to come sew with me. I don't know if you remember about, we were supposed to get together some months ago, and then something happened in her family and she had to cancel, or she had COVID something, and we just kind of lost contact with each other for a little while during the summer month. And then I dropped a line over on Instagram and I said, hey, come sew with me. And I got an answer back that says, yes, let's do that. So Saturday she's going to be there, and I will work really hard tomorrow to get these sections ready to go for sewing together for you guys. Make sure to live, laugh, love, and dream. And what do you do when you do that? Create something. So have a great one. See y'all later. Have a nice night.
You.
See you on the next video. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Let me hang up. You still there?